Hello everyone, welcome to this series on literary theories, and in this video we are going to discuss cultural studies. Introduction. Cultural studies is an interdisciplinary field that examines cultural practices and their relation to power dynamics within society. Interdisciplinary approach. Cultural studies incorporates elements from various fields such as Marxism, post-structuralism, postmodernism, feminism, gender studies, anthropology, sociology, race and ethnic studies, film theory, urban studies, public policy, popular culture studies, and post-colonial studies. This interdisciplinarity allows cultural studies to draw on a wide array of theoretical and methodological tools to analyze cultural phenomena from multiple perspectives, making it a rich and complex field. Focus on culture and power. Cultural studies investigate how cultural forces create community or cause division and alienation. It looks at how power structures are maintained or challenged through cultural practices. This involves examining how cultural products like literature, media and art, and practices like rituals and traditions perpetuate or resist power dynamics related to race, class, gender, and sexuality. By understanding these dynamics, cultural studies aim to uncover the underlying mechanisms that influence societal norms and values. Origins and influences. 1960s social turmoil. The field arose from the social changes and movements of the 1960s. During this period, issues of civil rights, feminism, anti-colonialism, and countercultural movements highlighted the importance of culture in shaping societal norms and political power. Cultural studies emerged as a response to these movements, seeking to analyze and understand the cultural underpinnings of social change. Structuralism and post-structuralism. Influenced by thinkers like Roland Barthes and Claude Lévi-Strauss, cultural studies analyze cultural phenomena through the lens of structuralism and post-structuralism. Structuralism views culture as a system of signs that can be decoded to reveal underlying structures. Post-structuralism, on the other hand, critiques this approach, emphasizing the instability and fluidity of meaning and the role of power in shaping discourse. Deconstruction. Jacques Derrida's deconstruction theory influences cultural studies by challenging traditional distinctions and hierarchies in culture and literature. Deconstruction reveals the contradictions and ambiguities within texts, showing how meaning is always deferred and never fixed. This approach helps cultural studies to question established cultural norms and values. Psychoanalysis. Jacques Lacan's theories emphasize language and power as symbolic systems. His concept of the unconscious, structured as a language, has been used in cultural studies to explore how identities are formed and how unconscious desires shape cultural practices. Foucault's power dynamics. Michel Foucault's notion of power as a complex of forces that produce societal norms and practices is central to cultural studies. Foucault's ideas about discourse, surveillance, and the relationship between knowledge and power help to understand how cultural practices regulate and control behavior, creating norms that shape individual and collective identities. Analyzing cultural texts. Cultural studies do not view culture as a fixed entity but as a set of practices that can be studied and critiqued. This involves examining the interrelationships among race, gender, popular culture, the media, and literature. For example, analyzing a film or novel involves looking at how it represents different social groups, with ideologies it promotes or challenges, and how it interacts with other cultural texts and practices. This approach allows cultural studies to uncover the ways in which cultural texts both reflect and shape societal values and power dynamics. Goals. The aim is to question and understand cultural conventions, both historical and contemporary, that operate within various media and texts. Cultural studies seek to uncover the hidden assumptions and power relations that shape cultural practices and to promote a more critical and reflective engagement with culture. By doing so, it aims to empower individuals and groups to challenge dominant ideologies and create more inclusive and equitable cultural landscapes. Comparison with philosophical accounts. Cultural studies versus traditional philosophy. While traditional philosophy often seeks universal truths and objective realities, cultural studies emphasize the contingent and constructed nature of cultural phenomena. Philosophical accounts like those of Michel Foucault challenge the idea of objective knowledge, aligning with cultural studies' focus on power and discourse. Cultural studies argue that what we consider to be truth or reality is always shaped by cultural and historical contexts, and that understanding these contexts is crucial for understanding how knowledge is produced and maintained. Structuralism versus post-structuralism. Structuralism, influenced by socio-linguistic theory, views culture as a system of science. Post-structuralism, as advocated by Derrida, deconstructs these systems, revealing the fluidity and multiplicity of meanings. Cultural studies often draw on post-structuralism to critique established cultural norms and power structures. This approach highlights how meanings are always contested and how power relations are embedded in cultural practices, allowing for a more nuanced and critical analysis of culture. Examination of traditional arguments. Cultural determinism. Traditional arguments in cultural determinism suggest that individuals are shaped entirely by their culture. Cultural studies critique this view, arguing for a more dynamic interplay between individual agency and cultural structures. This perspective emphasizes that while culture influences individuals, people who have the capacity to resist and transform cultural norms, highlighting the role of human agency in cultural practices. High versus low culture. Traditional distinctions between high or elite and low or popular culture are challenged by cultural studies, which argue that cultural forms are worthy of study and carry significant social meanings. This egalitarian approach democratizes the study of culture, recognizing that popular culture such as movies, TV shows, and music, plays a crucial role in shaping societal values and norms just as much as classical literature or fine art. Conclusion. Cultural studies is a field characterized by its interdisciplinarity, focus on power dynamics, and critique of traditional cultural and philosophical distinctions. It uses a broad range of theoretical tools to analyze cultural practices and their impact on society, always questioning and revising its own assumptions and methods. Through this process, cultural studies remain a vital and evolving area of academic inquiry, continually adapting to new cultural developments and challenges. So this was the discussion on cultural studies. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other topic. Until then, goodbye and thank you.